Let's start recording. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, football fans. I'm Ryan Cato here with Hunter Thompson and the Backups, a football podcast. It has been a crazy week for football, and you might be thinking, "Oh, I'm on the podcast. I'm ready to hear about every free agent move because we did do free agent extravaganzas last year. This is not that episode. Bonus episode will be coming to you soon, where we hit on free agents once we get a little bit further past the first day or the second day of free agency. Once we get into the trenches, get on closer to the draft, we can really evaluate everybody's free agent class. But for now, as we promised you last episode, we're back. RBs, TEs, two pretty different classes from last year, I would say. And we're excited to bring you our top fives, bring you some teams that might be looking for these two positions, and maybe where some of these guys might go. So that's our intro. Hunter, how you feeling?
Yo, I'm good. Hanging in there. Free agency has been wild to keep up with, but y'all are gonna hear more about that in a couple days.
Yeah.
Whenever we get around to doing that.
Whenever we could get around to that, the Falcons, I'm sure, have been kind of letting you down.
Well, we only have 700K in cap space,
Right. So
so
they can't do much.
they can't really let me down, but they can't really make me happy.
Right. They can't do anything for you.
Exactly.
Which is how it's always been. So I don't know why you're surprised. But something that's of note, I just want to mention, and we'll kind of maybe use it as a transition. The Patriots signed two tight ends, both Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, and drafted two tight ends last year. And I think I have another tight end on the roster. I don't know who their tight end was before, but this is kind of a they're starting to look like the Chicago Bears, is what I'm thinking.
You mean the newly Red Rifle led Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I saw Andy Dalton to the Chicago Bears. It's I don't want to hit on too much free agency, but it has been very interesting so far. Some contracts that maybe shouldn't have been given is what I've been seeing.
100%. But
Yeah,
like we said, we are gonna hit on that more in a couple days.
but speaking of tight ends, I want to talk about tight ends first. I know we said RBs, TEs, but we'll start it off with the tight end class. Tight ends are such a frustrating position to scout because most guys coming out of college are still pretty developmental, and so it's challenging. And last year was a garbage tight end class. I mean, Cole Kmet, not too bad. We saw Harrison Bryant a little bit this year, but so far the tight end class has been non-existent. Um, I'm not sure that that'll be the case with some of the guys at the top of our tight end boards. And so, Hunter, if you want to share your top five, and you can kind of hit on those guys, and we'll talk it over.
Right. So kind of like you were saying though, tight ends are so frustrating to grade and rank and everything because they're all so different. Like we have some guys that are like the big receiving threats, some guys that are purely blockers, and then the guys that fall in the middle. When I become a GM one day, I'm going to speak it into existence now. It's going to be a win. I'm going to be avoiding rookie tight ends at all costs because like the learning curve that comes with them is so high. But here are my five tight ends in order. Number one, we got the one and only option, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Um, Probably a top five player in the draft in general. Dude's a freak athlete who uses his body and athleticism to make stupid catches and actually put Kyle Trask in the Heisman race. Number two, Pat Fryermuth from Penn State, dubbed the baby Gronk. Um, I don't really see that. I just see a solid tight end who's going to step in and be a 10-year starter. I don't think he's going to be Gronk level in any way, shape, or form, but he's a very solid prospect. Would have been tight end one last year, without a doubt. Number three, I have Hunter Long from Boston College. A little bit limited athletically speaking, but he is a very good receiver and a good blocker. Um, Kind of Austin Hooper like in the sense of he knows how to get open, but isn't athletic enough to really get open on his own. He'll have to be
Yep,
schemed open and use his
I
routes to
agree.
get open.
Completely
Num-
agree.
yeah. Number 4, I got Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame, one of the best blockers and just all around like raw prospects in this class. Um, I see him going a lot higher than people are predicting him to go. He's just a good player. Not amazing, but just a good guy that you can plug in for any scheme. And then number 5, I have Brevin Jordan from Miami, who is also a pretty good athlete like Kyle Pitts, but is not a super great blocker. Not bad by any means. Not a great blocker. Could just be weird how Miami used him. But when I was watching, I didn't really love his tape. Um, he's not your traditional tight end. He's more of the receiver-esque type tight end.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's really interesting with the tight end class. I think most everybody has the same top two. And then after that, it's more of a conversation, right? And so um, Brevin Jordan, was at least, over the past few months, has been a lot of people's top threes, number three. But we've seen a lot of, tight ends come in and maybe upend him in that, and you had him at 5. So it's really interesting. There, I have the same top two as you, like we said, Kyle Pitts, Pat Fryermuth. Um, Kyle Pitts is going to be such a mismatch. Like that is going to be a scary thing for teams to have to deal with, and they're going to need a big old box safety to deal with it. These small, quick linebackers, these Nick Boltons, are not going to deal with Kyle Pitts over the middle. He's too big. He's too athletic. He's a good route runner. So I'm afraid. I'm afraid of him. And luckily, the Patriots I know won't pick him now, or maybe they will. I don't know. It's still a toss up, but Kyle Pitts is definitely my number one. I think Pat Fryermuth though is the best jack of all trades tight end in the class. Pitts, obviously, like you said, a top 5 player in this draft. I'd call him a top 3 player in this draft. I think he's the best receiving threat. But Fryermuth, with his blocking, he's physical, and he's the best all around traditional tight end. He's excellent even in the passing game, though. I don't want to make it sound like he's not up to par. Excellent in the passing game. At 3, I have Hunter Long. Like you said, he doesn't really have the athleticism to be like a pass catcher, but he is an excellent route runner, I think. He knows what he needs to do. He has good feet, and when they scheme him open, I mean, he collects. He's no yards after catch guy, or he's not going to run anybody over. But a talented tight end at Boston College. Number 4, I have Brevin Jordan. I think Tommy Tremble would be in the group afterward, but I'll talk about it in a moment. You said earlier Brevin Jordan reminded you of Hunter Bryant in some bad ways. Completely agree. And I didn't like Hunter Bryant last year. I think Brevin Jordan might have better hands than Hunter Bryant, but it's kind of like he's a underdeveloped passing threat. Like he's not a bad blocker, but I think serves better use in the receiving game, and even there he's underdeveloped. So that makes me nervous. And then at 5, I can't pick a guy. There's a lot of guys here that really could be number 5. They're all developmental to me, though. You look at Tommy Tremble, Kenny Yeboah out of Ole Miss, Trey McKitty out of Georgia, Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State. So there's a lot of guys here that I think could develop into something, maybe a tight end 2. Maybe, they'll become that tight end 1 if they get the chance. But there's just a lot of cons with the guys afterwards. As tight end classes are, I mean, like I said, these guys are all developmental. So they're going to come in the NFL and hopefully learn as a tight end 2 and become a better threat.
Yeah, I mean, as we were saying earlier, like I think this tight end class is head and shoulders above last year's.
Certainly.
but that doesn't really make this one that good.
Certainly.
It's still a lot of guys that are going to be scheme fit and developmental, like you were saying. But at least with this one, I feel comfortable taking 3 of these guys as a starter if I needed a starting tight end,
Mm-hmm.
which is more than I could say last year, where I felt on 1 or 2 guys.
Right. Yeah, I was still nervous about Cole Kmet last year. Like I'm feeling the way I feel about that like number 5 group. That's kind of how I was feeling about the top 2 last year.
Yeah, like that's how I felt about Harrison Bryant and Cole
Yeah.
Kmet. Like I could start them if I needed to, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. And that's not to say that last year's class like they're all terrible players and they're not going to amount to anything, but it's just like we said developmental. So
Right.
um it's challenging there, but a couple of these guys at the top, specifically Pitts rather and Fryermuth, um I think those guys are plug and play guys. And Pitts, could go as high as 3 if
Mm-hmm.
Miami sticks and picks. Yeah, what kind of landing spots do you think for him, or do you see for him rather?
Yeah, so obviously Miami at 3 is one that I would love to see because I think he'd be very beneficial for Tua in his development, or if they trade wherever. Number 3, whoever gets number 3, I think, or wherever Tua goes, if there is a deal, I think Pitts is a good spot for. I know a lot of people like him in Atlanta. That wouldn't be awful. I wouldn't love it, but like it's one of those things. He's such a talented player, and Arthur Smith runs a lot of 12 personnel. So having him and Hurst on the field would create mismatches for a defense. The one I really like though is Philly.
Mm.
With them letting Ertz seek trade, and with him
Goddard.
being
Oh.
Pitts is from Philly.
Mm.
Or from that
Really?
area. So seeing that would just like it'd be cool to see him in that uniform and being good for Jalen Hurts. So I don't see him going past the top 10 though. Like sliding past that. Maybe Carolina. Him and Joe Brady's offense could be fun, but I think the best fit is Miami.
Yeah, I could see Miami for sure. We talked about our top 5s a couple episodes ago, and I mocked Pitts to Miami. But yeah, I think Miami has a chance of trading down to a team that picks a quarterback at 3. And so yeah, I could see Carolina. I think Carolina will probably pick BPA. And so, we've had mocks with him going as late as 15 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not seeing that as something that'll happen. I mean, I would assume that a lot of teams see him the same way we do, and that's as an elite pass catcher, like up there with the top receivers. So it'd be challenging to see him fall past that. And then with Fryermuth, I think Jacksonville at their pick that they got from the Rams in the Jalen Ramsey trade, I think Fryermuth could be a spot there.
Yeah, I think Fryermuth could easily be pick 33 instead of that first.
Sure.
But either way, I think him in Jacksonville is a good fit. Gives Trevor Lawrence a safety net type option that he would be able to grow and work with over their careers. But I think Fryermuth could also potentially end up in Indianapolis or Pittsburgh. I would not like Pittsburgh, but
I think
there's no telling what to do.
it's really possible he goes to the second round. Just because in the first round, I think a lot of teams are going to see bigger needs than tight end. But whoever,
like grade wise too.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't. He's clearly not up there with Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's not like a 1A 1B situation. Kyle Pitts is clearly 1. And I think he's solid. But there's just I think there's going to be plenty of players on teams' big boards before Pat Fryermuth, and he'll make a team really happy. I think, like you said, I think a safety net type player for a team there. I'm trying to think of anywhere else a tight end. I mean, if Pitts falls below 10, the Chargers, with Hunter Henry now signing to the Patriots, I think that could be a spot.
Yeah,
I don't
any of
know.
these guys.
I don't know. Trying to think of the other tight end needy teams.
Buffalo just traded a tight end.
Yeah, Buffalo just traded a blocking tight end to Atlanta. I'll take somebody. I'll take Tony Poljan way down the board. My 6'7" boy to to block in Buffalo. But yeah, we've got Dawson Knox, Tyler Kroft holding up that end of the team. It would honestly Pitts at 4 wouldn't surprise me.
No, I don't think it would surprise me as much now after the restructuring of Ryan. I mean, I wouldn't love it. I think I'd rather trade back at this point if we don't go quarterback. And then at that point, like Atlanta could pick like Joke or something.
Yeah.
But that's a once again different conversation. But
right.
Pitts is going probably in the top 8. He's too talented to not.
Yeah, as he should. That's cool because the tight end part of this conversation is as long as it needs to be. We don't need to hash it out too much longer. I don't think that there's too many late round guys that I'm going to be chomping at the bit to get. But if anybody listening has any late round, maybe some FCS tight ends, I don't know, run it, send it over to me. I love my FCS boys. What I really want to talk about is running backs. And I tweeted this a few weeks ago, maybe it was like a month ago. And I said, it's so unfortunate how fun running backs are to watch because they don't matter. It really is. It really is. I love watching running backs. They're electric. They got the balls in their hands. I mean, it's like watching a yak receiver, except that they don't have to catch the ball. They can just run. I think that's so fun. But there's nothing better than a rookie RB. If you have to have an RB, get one on a rookie deal. And I think that this is actually low-key a deep RB class.
Yeah, this is a very deep RB class. But to go off the whole running backs don't matter thing, they don't. They really just do not at all. I will argue with it. Like, I think a good running game matters, but running backs themselves don't matter. The way I view running backs is kind of like how Bill Parcells used to view quarterbacks, or maybe it was Parcells. Some old football head was always like, draft a quarterback every year, because at the hit and miss ratio, like you'll hit more often with that way, and then you can trade the ones that you don't need, or something along these lines. I think it was Parcells. Don't quite remember. But if you do that with running backs and just draft one every other year, you'll never have to pay a running back a second contract.
Right. And I really am a big fan of that. I mean, even some of these guys that are the cornerstones of their team, I'm like, that was probably poor management. You should have found some better cornerstones because they're paying Dalvin or McCaffrey or Zeke or whoever all this money for what, for them to blow up in 2 years. I mean, those guys aren't going to have brains or knees in 16 months.
I know we said this is going to be like a draft-based episode, but we got to talk a minute about Zeke's contract, bro. that might be the worst contract I have ever seen.
Yeah,
ever.
It's not good.
It was a 6-year, $90 million contract.
And then he was garbage without Dak.
For a running back.
Yeah, including $50 million guaranteed.
He's in year 3, about to start year 3 of his contract.
No, he was of his contract.
Yeah. He's about to start year 3 of his contract. He's 25, might be 26 when the season starts. Not sure at the age there.
I think he'll be 26 when the season starts.
But they're paying him $13.7 million, or his cap hit is 13.7.
Yeah.
For this year.
That's
16.5 next year, 15 in 2023, 12.6 in 2024, and then 15.4 in 2025, and 16.6 in 2026 in his age 31 season.
Right. I mean, he's not Frank Gore, dude. He's not. Nobody is Frank Gore.
No running back is Frank Gore.
Right. And
But like,
so, yeah, that's a concerning contract. I mean, their out is at 2023. That's where the 50 million guaranteed comes from. But I like, good gracious. I mean, 2027, you're going to sign him through 2027?
you really you signed him to a 6-year deal for a running back. Running back shelf life isn't that good. 4-year? Yeah, sure, whatever. You're pushing it. But he's on a second contract and you just tied him up for 6. Do you want him there for 10 years? Because I don't want a
Right.
running back anywhere for 10 years.
No, I don't want a running back anywhere for more than 4. I'm
I
saying
think 6 is probably the most I could do with a running back.
when a running back gets off their rookie deal, I don't want them anymore. That's what I'm saying. Is like it's
Yeah, I don't disagree. But like, if I had to extend past, I'm
yeah, you
probably
got
gonna
to
do
go
like a 2-year
two max.
extension. It's gonna be like a
Completely
2-year, get them to 6.
right. And so a team like that, instead of signing this massive contract, should be drafting a running back. And running back, I mean, you look at 2017. Look at a historically deep draft class, tons of late round hits in 2017. But I mean, you got Kamara in the 3rd, you got Aaron Jones in the 5th, you got Chris Carson in the 7th. I'm not saying Chris Carson's the best running back ever. He's a bell cow though for Seattle. I mean, it's the hit rate on late round running backs. I mean, hell, James Robinson was an undrafted free agent.
Devontae
So
Freeman in Atlanta for those couple years when he was good. He was
come
a
on.
4th-round pick.
Right. So there is no reason to pay all this money when you could be on a 5th round contract with a running back. That's what we believe in here at the Backups. And if you don't like it, you can get out.
It's the weirdest thing because like you'd think we as backups would appreciate the running back position, or
No,
something.
we like
don't.
the back running back. we're big fans of Tariq Cohen on the backups.
Tariq Cohen is a fun backup.
Right. We like that backup. So that being said, though, I want to hear your top 5 and discuss them. I know we had pretty similar top 5s for tight ends. It's a little bit different for running backs. So
yeah. So obviously, number 1, it is Najee Harris from Alabama. Dude is a freaking monster, and I've seen comps of him to Le'Veon Bell, which I really like. I've seen James Conner, which I don't really love, but that one, it is what it is. But he's a powerful runner, good vision, not necessarily the fastest back, but fast enough. Hits the hole hard, solid power, big frame, so pass blocking should not be an issue. And he did it all at Alabama. Obviously, I have some questions that he might not be able to do it without the Alabama offense, because we've seen plenty of Alabama running backs wash out, but we've also seen plenty of Alabama backs hit. With like Ingram and Derrick Henry, they both hit. We saw Yeldon and Kenyon Drake and Trent Richardson wash.
sure.
But I think with Najee, it's worth the gamble. And I think he is the only running back that might go in the 1st round. But number 2, I have Javonte Williams, one of the 2 UNC duos. Williams is a very powerful, strong runner who runs a lot like Nick Chubb. He enjoys hitting you. He enjoys running over you. He enjoys making you hate your life a little bit. He's, in my opinion, the best pass blocker of the running backs. If you're coming as a blitzer, you do not want Williams back there. He just routinely makes hits and takes the defender to the ground. It's beautiful to watch. Beautiful. I'll probably tweet some Javonte Williams pass blocking stuff later, whenever this posts. Number 3, we got ETN, who's just a freak athlete, one of the most explosive backs in the draft. But I have questions about his vision. His 2020 tape looked a lot worse than his 19 tape. Fantastic hands, breakout speed, everything you want physically speaking. His vision just seems to be a little lackluster or slow, but still very, very good. Number 4, I have Michael Carter, the other half of the UNC duo. Smaller back, bit more of a spell back, you might say. But just because he's short doesn't mean he's not good. He's 5'8". Let me see it.
5'8".
Okay, because I always want to say 5'6". But he's 5'8", 202 pounds, and just hits like a truck. Dude is good. And I think he could very easily be a star back in his own right. And then number 5 is where it starts to get away from my like guys that could be the lead back. Number 5, I have Kenneth Gainwell, who I don't think is bad, but I don't think is that great. I think he's a solid receiver, good speed, pass blocking is not great, but Gainwell's a good offensive weapon for the modern game. I just don't think he has the ability to be a featured back like the other 4. Kato, what you got?
Yeah, so mine's a little bit different. Like we talked about, the main guy that is left out is Michael Carter, but he's at my 6. Love Michael Carter, actually. But I'll start from 5. At 5, I have Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. I know Trey Sermon's your 6. Is that right?
Wait, sorry?
Trey Sermon's your 6. Is that right?
Yeah. Trey Sermon's my 6.
So,
I think it's 6.
Something like that. But yeah, so Trey Sermon's at my 5. Yeah, I mean, excellent ball carrier out of Ohio State. I think, I don't know, he's very physically sound. I think when you see yards after contact, you're going to be very surprised. He's a good ball carrier. I don't know. I think he's a solid traditional running back, which is interesting because that's not really what I value. I more value the passing game. But when I saw his tape, I was just impressed. He's playing against strong defenses, and he's a bigger guy, 6 feet tall. But I think with him and Michael Carter, it's kind of a toss-up at 5. I like them both, and for very different reasons. At number 4, I actually have Javonte Williams. He is one of the strongest in pass pro for sure. But what you'll notice in my rankings is I definitely value the pass catching more than most things. I think in the modern NFL, we're looking for a back that can do all of those things, and pass pro is, it's important. But if you're going to do that, I would throw a blocking tight end in there. Maybe that's just me or a fullback. So he is a good receiver, but not as good of a receiver as the guy I have before him, which is Kenneth Gainwell. Memphis, okay. Maybe I'll get shredded for saying this. Memphis is low-key the new RBU, okay? Tony Pollard, Darrell Henderson, Antonio Gibson, and now Kenneth Gainwell, okay? And Kenneth Gainwell is going to come out and be just as successful, I think, as Antonio Gibson. Darrell Henderson obviously is in a running back by committee. And Pollard, I think if he was the feature back, he would be excellent. Obviously, he's stuck behind the $90 million man. But I think Tony Pollard would be a very solid running back featured in the NFL. And I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the same. Kenneth Gainwell is an offensive weapon. That's the same words I used to describe Antonio Gibson last year. And I think Memphis, their offense, Memphis. Goodness gracious, I don't know why I can't say that. Memphis. I don't know. The Tigers in West Tennessee. I think that their offense shows off every part of a running back's game, and that's including as a route runner and a pass catcher. And Kenneth Gainwell played a lot from the slot, a lot like Antonio Gibson. I think that he is a weapon. And I think he will be a featured back and a featured offensive weapon in the NFL. I am planting my flag for Kenneth Gainwell. I think he'll go in the second, but Kenneth Gainwell, an excellent pick. At number 2, I actually have Najee. It's really 1A and 1B at the top for me. They are opposite backs. Najee is that crashing down on the defense, gonna run your ass over type running back. He runs it's not even angry. He just runs. I feel like it just has so much determination. Like he's just running through people. He does have great feet. he does have great feet and great moves. He's a good pass catcher. I mean, I think he'll be very successful as a back in the NFL. It is crazy to me the amount of talent that was on that Alabama offense. You look at the line, the quarterback, the receivers, the running back. I mean, it's all there. So, yeah, Najee Harris, another excellent player out of that offense. And then at the top, I have ETN. Like I said, almost opposite backs. Najee is that power, determination running back. ETN is the electric, slippery back. Like you said, crazy speed. I mean, I think it's 4.3. I think probably maybe 4.3 flat. He is so fast.
He did have his 40 and ran like a 4.4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his top speed looks like on the field, but I think he's ridiculously fast. He doesn't like overdo it, but I think he's just so slippery. Like his feet are just so fast that like the linebackers and even the DBs can't keep up when they've got him in space. I don't think there's any tackling him in space. Like I said, a yak guy that is just giving the ball out of the backfield. That's so scary. I see the stuff about his vision. I just am not. I don't know. When I think about ETN, I don't see him as a guy that's going to be it's not going to be 3rd and 2, and I'm trying to run in between the tackles. He's going to be swinging out, and I'm hitting him in the flats. I'm hitting him over the middle. I think what he offers as a pass catcher and his route running in that will allow him to, be just as good for the offense as a guy like Najee Harris would for completely different reasons. So that is my top 5. I don't know. I would love to hear your opinions on it. And then I want to hit on some guys late round.
Right. So obviously you and me see different eye to eye with ETN, but sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
You're good.
See different with ETN. Yes, but I still think he's gonna be a quality back in today's game. See differently with Williams. I mean, it's kind of interesting, like when looking at our boards and how we place the different values. Like I value a lot more of the power in between the tackles, take the pressure off the QB type back.
For sure.
While you value a lot more the modern receiving speedster back, which there's nothing wrong with. It's running backs. They don't matter.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's just interesting to see how different archetypes of positions are really valued and broken up among different teams, different organizations, different scouts, etc., etc. Where do you have some of these guys landing at, or good spots for a couple of these top guys?
Yeah. So I will say I think Najee Harris will probably be the first off the board. Although I have ETN ranked first, I think Najee Harris will be probably the first off the board, and that'll be late first round. I think Pittsburgh would be a good spot for him. I think Buffalo would be a good spot for him. I don't think that they should pick him, but that would be so fun. I would enjoy it. And then with ETN, I mean, you look at a place if the Jets are able to grab him, I wouldn't say in the first round, but maybe at pick 34. That would be really cool. I mean, I don't think this should happen either. But the Falcons pick, at the top of the round, in the second, the third, whatever. One of these guys should probably go. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they went top of the second. They just pick a running back. But like I said, I don't think it should happen. You can pick Michael Carter in the third, I'd like to see Michael Carter and maybe Trey Sermon go to the Falcons in the third. That would be really cool. So it'll be really interesting how the running backs fall, because there's a lot of guys in this class that do one thing really well, but don't do some other things well. Like I see the determination and the physicality of Kylan Hill, but I don't see the vision necessarily, or I don't think he's not electric enough for me. I don't think.
Yeah, Kylan Hill's really interesting. Because like a lot of guys, like you either love him or you hate him, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like as a prospect, I know like Tyler Moss has him as like RB4, RB5 on his list.
Yeah.
and like Adam Holloway loves not Kylan Hill too. But like with me, he's like barely cracking top 10.
Right. So it's like that's the same for me. I think he's like 9 for me. Another guy that you see at the bottom, bottom of top 10 is Khalil Herbert. Uh, solid running back, but a little bit short and, pretty much no pass catching experience. Like that's a big question mark for Khalil Herbert. So there's some guys once you get third, fourth, that maybe you're taking a chance on, but I'm sure that some of these later round guys are gonna shine. They'll break out. So it's an interesting class for sure. I know we have a couple of guys that, or at least I have a couple of guys, and you mentioned one that we see in the late rounds, maybe from some smaller schools, maybe Minor 5 or FCS, that I really like to highlight. The first being Jarrett Patterson. I don't know if you've seen this guy's numbers, but the man ran like what 12 or 13 or 14 or something like that touchdowns in like 5 games. I mean,
yeah,
like
stupid as shit numbers.
yeah, I mean, absurd numbers. I think he could be a 3-down back. Is a little bit small, but runs powerfully, like weirdly powerful for a guy who is under 200 pounds. Like I'm much bigger than Jarrett Patterson is.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So, and then I do want to CJ Marable from Coastal got gypped from the combine. I think he could be a good change of pace back. I'm not sure he's got the chops to be an every down back, but excellent there. And then finally, I mean, this is an undrafted free agent. So catch me talking about this guy next year when I won't shut up about him for the first 9 weeks of the season. But Jermaine Martin, okay, stick with me. North Carolina A&T. I mean, acceleration is nice. He's built well. He's very physical.
What's his build? How big is he?
5'10", 214.
Okay.
So he's not super tall, but he's stacked for sure. And you just see it in his game when he's running the ball. People bounce off of him. He plays, I think, bigger than he is, and not a super huge receiver, but he can definitely do it. I've seen it. He can do screens, bubbles, etc. So Jermaine Martin, I'm telling you, when he's an undrafted free agent that barely gets signed by the Chiefs, and then he ends up their lead back, call me. So, and I know you have one guy from guy from the Sun Belt.
I got 2 guys I want to talk about.
Yeah, hit me.
First guy from the Sun Belt is my boy Elijah Mitchell
from
Louisiana. I think dude is going to become not necessarily like a feature back, but I think he will be the lead back in a committee for some team. And if Atlanta wants to wait on a running back later, and you guys wanted to, I don't know, maybe take Elijah Mitchell later, you should.
Give me Elijah Mitchell in the 5th round all day.
Yeah, round. Give me Elijah Mitchell day 3, like 5th, 6th round, and I will tell you for a fact that is better value than Michael Carter, Kenneth Gainwell in the 3rd. And that's not a knock on them, but running backs do not matter. The running game itself matters, and you can get 5th round running backs to lead your running game, and I can rant about that all day, but I'm not going to. Elijah Mitchell displays good vision, pretty solid athletic tools, and just did a little bit of everything down at Louisiana. He was the lead back of their committee there. His running mate is also in this draft. Cannot remember his name right now to save my life. I'm blanking on it. But that's okay because Mitchell's the one that matters. Mitchell is a very just solid back who I think is just a good addition and will make an NFL team pleasantly surprised whenever he starts seeing the field.
Did you mean Trey Ragas?
Yes.
Yep, he's good too.
Yes. Yep. And then the other back I want to talk about is my running back 7, Javian Hawkins from Louisiana. Or not Louisiana, Louisville. We just talked about the Louisiana.
Louisville.
Jesus Christ. But Javian Hawkins, my God, he is fast.
Mm-hmm.
He has breakout speed, can take any ball to the house, and is just fun. He's just a home run hitting machine. He is a bit smaller frame wise,
Mm-hmm.
weighing in at
196.
196. Yeah. Thanks for having that pulled up.
Yeah, I got you.
But he is a bit smaller and probably should not be the feature back in a committee. But as a spell back and as a third down back, he does bring what you want. Decent receiver out of the back, not a super great blocker because he is smaller, but can take anything to the house. Oh, screen, boom, he's taking that to the house. Draw up the middle, taking it to the house. Outside toss, gone. Like everything he has such breakout home run ability that it's hard to not value a guy like that on your team.
Yeah, that was the phrase I was going to use for him, home run ability. I mean, the guy, I think he's probably a third down back, but the guy has got moves, and if you're not prepared for it, if you're not ready, as soon as he gets the ball, he's going to make you look like a joker. I mean, he really will. So I think that if he's utilized well, then he could be a really solid option. Especially in the passing game, like you said, screen, stuff like that. But even, on outside runs, I think he'd be a really solid option for a team. And he's very young. I mean, redshirt sophomore this year. So,
I think he's still 20.
Earliest possible he can come out of the class. I believe, yeah, he is still 20. I don't have his date of birth here, but I'm sure I could find it somewhere.
I'm sure it's floating around somewhere.
Yeah. So Javian Hawkins, I think, is really a guy to look out for. Probably round 3. Cool. I mean, we hit on pretty much everything that we said we were going to hit on. That's all the knowledge I have about the good running backs in this class anyway. Right now, there are some guys that I see people kind of hyping up that I'm not really seeing the hype on. Jamar Jefferson, Puka Williams, Rakeem Boyd are 3 of them.
I will never understand the Puka hype.
No, me either.
Like, I don't even think he's that fun to watch. Like, it's not one of those guys where I'm like, okay, cool, he's at least fun. Nah, dude, Puka's just not even that fun.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I really don't see it. Maybe it's because he played football for Kansas, and anything that goes there to die. But I mean, I just don't see it on them. One more guy that we didn't hit on, a Senior Bowl guy, Larry Roundtree from
I was about to
Missouri.
mention Larry Roundtree.
I think he's I think he can handle the workload required of like a bell cow type running back. I don't know if he's that guy, but I think he definitely could. I mean, he's 216. He's built pretty well, pretty muscular. So, but he runs with determination a lot like Kylan Hill. So
yes, I would say Larry Roundtree does not do anything amazing, but doesn't do anything bad.
No, I mean, if you're talking about your definition of the RB, like take pressure off the quarterback, like he can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you put him in. I mean, his pass pro isn't bad either. You want to put him in a play action scheme and pass pro it up. I think he's good for what you need a running back to do that scut work for. So
exactly. One more guy before we decide what position we're gonna do next week.
For sure.
I want to talk about the fullback for a minute. Ben Mason from Michigan.
Out of Michigan. Yo.
Bro, I hate running backs, but fullbacks will always have a spot in my heart.
A dying breed. It is a dying breed. Yeah. Ben Mason is 6'3", 256. He's so big.
Doesn't he have a mohawk?
I think he might. I don't know. He's a fullback. I mean,
fullbacks are weird, bro.
Because they basically have no reason to exist anymore. There's very few really good fullbacks anymore. But yeah.
Ben dude.
Mason.
Yeah, he's got a fullback. He's got a mohawk. He has a goatee chin strap thing going.
Okay,
built like a hammer.
Yeah, so maybe Ben Mason. Maybe Ben Mason is our new mascot.
I will accept Ben Mason as our mascot of this draft cycle.
And let me share my screen real quick. I'm going to share my screen, get this Ben Mason picture pulled up so I can use it as our our thumbnail on YouTube. Let's see. Should be able to see now. Can you see him?
Yeah, now I can. Yep,
Good
that's the one I was talking about.
Lord. That
Yeah,
is insane. If you're
that is an
just listening
ugly
to this,
bastard,
if
but
you're
he's so
just
beautiful
listening
at the
to this
same
on the
time.
podcast, if you're just listening to the audio, please go Google Ben Mason right now, because that is something.
So
That's
you will
a
not be
fullback and a half.
disappointed.
Yeah, that is a fullback and a half.
He screams Packers, and I don't know what else does.
Yeah, you have AJ Dillon and Ben Mason. That would be filthy. I mean, well, they just signed Aaron Jones actually.
That was the.
Anyways,
Oh my god! That
free agent episode. Free agent episode.
Oh,
But yeah, I'm pissed about it too.
don't pay a running back. God.
Don't pay a running back, especially when you just picked a fine one. I mean, like AJ Dillon was good at the end of last year. Anyways,
And then you had Jamal Williams, who you could have signed for cheaper.
For way cheaper, and he's just as good. Jamal Williams is fine. Yeah, confusing. But what are we getting into next episode? We're probably going defense, right?
Yeah, we did corners and safeties last week.
We can do LBs, edges, DTs.
So you want to have LBs next week?
Yeah, let's do it.
We can do like top 10 LBs, or is that pushing it? Then we can figure that out.
We can name our top 10 and talk about our top 5.
Yeah, I say
that's what you can expect. We'll probably hit on our later guys just like we did with running backs. So we're just talking about football. So if you guys want to come hang out, talk football with us as well, please feel free. And it looks like we will talk to you guys next week. Follow us on Twitter. Our Twitters will be in the description, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you for listening.